Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cooltific podcast. This is episode 2 of season 1. I am your host, Gabriel. Um, Today we're going to be discussing 3 topics. First is going to be general topics, and then we're going to be discussing video games, and then music. Okay, so let's get started. I woke up today around 9:30, and basically I went and collected some coins, some quarters from my living room, and I went and bought an energy drink. So, so I had that I finished it off about 15 minutes ago. So I feel a little bit charged, even though, energy drinks aren't the healthiest thing. And I just also got off playing City Heroes for about an hour. Uh, City Heroes is like an old MMO that came out in like 2004. It got discontinued in 2012. Uh, it's pretty fun. There's basically a team that I don't know if they inherited or not inherited, but like they bought the rights to the game, or they just they were just allowed to emulate the game on their servers or whatever. But the game's been up again since 2019, and it's pretty fun to play. It's free. Anyways, I know I might be sounds like a plug for the game, but the developers don't even make any money off of the game directly, so it's pretty fun. Uh, so we're going to begin with general topics, and general topics is not really it's not really like anything in particular. It's kind of just rambling for the most part. Uh, you know, I this is kind of yeah, I'm still very much in the infancy stage with my podcast, so I haven't even really began to structure uh, my topics and how the podcast will be organized and all that. So it's definitely like in its infant stages, but uh, I believe everything's going to go well. As long as I stay disciplined and keep going and keep doing podcasts. I mean, I'll make improvements over time, especially if I do sufficient research on how to actually run a good podcast. But anyways, so how's your guys' day going? Is it? I'm assuming it's hopefully doing okay. Um, my day's been okay so far. I feel good just because I got caffeine in my body. I probably need to hydrate with water in order to feel, optimal. But I don't know. I mean, everything's been going okay today. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that. Um, Honestly, the past few weeks have been a little interesting for me because, you know, I mean, it's really kind of been the past few weeks have been a little floaty for me. I've just been, I guess you could say, generally just keeping myself entertained with the internet and, just floating around between the office and the house. And I don't know, generally just trying to get by, I guess. Um, it's a little bit of a interesting prospect, I guess, when you're not really doing much with your time. But you know, I think I'm going to make improvements. So uh, another thing that's interesting is that like is how your sleep schedule like heavily affects your performance during the day and just how you feel. Like when I don't get enough sleep, I start to detach from reality. Just generally I just become really confused about things. And well, I mean, not necessarily like full-blown confusion, but I dissociate pretty bad. It gets to the point where like I, everything starts to feel like a dream, and it just kind of becomes like somewhat of a form of torture, I guess you could say, for me. It's not really fun. But like as the like in late August, I wasn't really able to sleep very well for like the consecutive like 6 or 7 nights. of that month and going into September a little bit. And it just wasn't fun, I guess, like it got to the point where I just, I started detaching from my surroundings a lot more. Everything started to feel really fuzzy, and my emotions got swung out a lot more. And I don't know, it just wasn't really fun. So, uh, around like a few days into September, my sleep finally started to regulate, and I just, generally started to feel better. So, I would say that but at this point, my sleep has been consistent enough to where, I'm not like dissociating nearly as bad. Maybe to some degree I still am, but generally I would say that everything's pretty much fine. So yeah. Um, so another thing that's kind of been on my mind lately is just how how life in general can, can be a little confusing when it comes to uh, what objectives are important to a person, Like there's basic survival, of course, like making sure you pay rent and you have food and, everything's guaranteed like that. But the thing is that it kind of gets to the point where I don't know, you would think that there's something more, than kind of just getting by in the world and not really doing much with your time. I guess in my case, you know, like uh it's interesting how like human beings, like even when they have their survival guaranteed, like they still feel like, they need more, they need a more developed sense of purpose in order to, to feel satisfied with their lives. But my question is that really something that should should we try to move the other direction and try to move towards more of a sense of what, Alan Watts would call purposelessness, which is like kind of just being. You just be, and you don't have to have like a reason, a set of reasons in your subconscious to why you're being, and that kind of provides satisfaction. But I guess human nature kind of prevents such things from really being accomplished, at least easily. It kind of gets to the point where I don't know. I mean, basically, we get bored. We suffer from ennui, and we want to change our situation or at the very least improve it. And maybe we tend to get a little bit caught up in these cycles of, you know, wanting to improve ourselves perpetually, but maybe that makes us miss like particularly important things, in our everyday lives, like, maybe even like just staying clean or hygiene or really just regulating ourselves on sleep. And I guess that's assuming that you are trying to be very productive with your time, or you're just trying to work towards a certain set of goals in order to maybe kind of create this sense of industry within yourself. But who knows? Um, I would say that, I think life is largely about balancing things out, balancing out, what you eat, you know, just generally your health, I would say, sleeping, having something in your life where you're producing something. I think that's an important part of the balance, especially as you grow a little bit older. Like you want to have something that you're producing and maybe providing for others, or at least, at the very least, something that you're producing for yourself, and that just allows you to to express a certain part of yourself, and that maybe that leads to some therapeutic catharsis, or maybe at the very least it just gives you a sense of purpose. But who knows? So yeah, I mean, it's difficult, it can, I mean, life in general is pretty harsh. I would say, like, even me as being, a kid living in the United States and not like, in a more desperate situation in another part of the world, like things can still be fairly difficult. So, but who knows? All right, we have pretty much reached our 10-minute mark. So let's continue on to the second topic, which is video games. So, like I said, I've been playing quite a few different video games, honestly, over the past few months. I actually got into Half-Life 2 for a minute, um, like around what was it, like a month and a half ago. I had a little bit of money on my card, and so I decided to go on Steam. And so I that kind of led to me buying Half-Life 2 because I was scrolling through the the store, and there's a lot of games that just didn't really catch my eye. Like, there's a lot of games on Steam, but the thing is that like a lot of it just didn't necessarily seem interesting to me. I don't know, like, when you're just browsing, maybe like, I don't know, like you're looking for a movie or you're looking for a book, and like, and they say don't judge a book by its cover, but the thing is that like, at least for me, I tend to get like this intuition about what book, video game, or movie is going to be like worth my time. And the thing is that if I don't follow my intuition, I tend to be, there tends to be, disappointment at the end. I don't know. It's like I don't know what it is about my intuition, but like generally, like I have, at least some degree of accuracy with assessing the quality of something, like of an art piece, you know, and that kind of at least like at least like I can get an idea of how much I'll enjoy it based off of like maybe small bits of information, like that might be considered superficial, but I don't know. Anyways, so I got Half-Life 2, and I played it for a while. I would say that it was pretty fun. You play as Gordon Freeman, you're kind of in this dystopian world, and pretty much I would say that like you go around and you try to what's the plot of that game? Oh my gosh. Basically, you try to like survive in Half-Life 2. You try to uh, just you try to kill off the soldiers that are trying to prevent you from progressing, and the zombies and all that. And basically, you solve all these puzzles. And that's something that's kind of cool about Half-Life 2 is that, it challenges you with all these puzzles. Like there wasn't really a moment where like I I mean there were moments where like I could progress pretty smoothly, but I was consistently challenged in that game. Like um like I was challenged enough to where like it just stumped me often. And I would say that that's actually pretty cool for a video game to intellectually challenge you, force you to think through your situation and not kind of just, mindlessly course through the game without really, without any thought. Um, Another thing that's been kind of fun is I've been playing a lot of Mario games lately. Like I bought the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which is basically like Mario 64 and Sunshine and Galaxy. And that's been pretty fun. I played Sunshine for quite a few days. I currently have like 52 stars or some Shine Sprites, I mean. And I don't know, that's been pretty fun, I would say. It's a bit of a nostalgia trip for me because like the game came out in 2002, and so I've been playing it since I was really young. And I don't know, I would just say that it's quite an interesting experience to go back to a video game that you haven't played in a while and just go through with it, kind of like re-experience all these things again. Not necessarily like it was the first time, of course, but like it's definitely like it's definitely a pretty fun thing. So uh, also there's Mario Galaxy, which I've been playing for a minute too. That like there's really kind of this joviality with Mario Galaxy, like especially when you play the first few worlds, it really just gives you a sense of like wonder and excitement. It just almost like this mirthy happiness, like it really just I don't know how to explain it, but like you go fly around, around in space basically, and you can jump on different like these small little planets, which is basically like uh, these tiny little worlds within the world where you can defeat enemies and fly around and just generally have fun like that. Mario Galaxy is a little bit more linear than Sunshine, I would say, or maybe you kind of get that impression that it's more linear because, well, I would say that pretty much with Galaxy, the worlds are smaller and they're not as like they're spread out, I guess, but like not contiguously spread out, if that makes sense. And so, it doesn't really feel like they don't really feel like large worlds per se, but more like small little worlds that you transport from one to the other too. And so, it can feel a little constricted with that game, but generally, I would say it's pretty fun. Um, and to and to give a final note to the topic of video games, uh, I would say that there's a new video game coming out called Metroid Dread. And yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard of the Metroid series, but Metroid Dread is basically a sequel to Metroid Fusion, which came out in 2002. And Fusion's a really fun game. I've been playing it for a while, and I don't know. It's like Fusion is it came out for the Game Boy Advance, and yeah, it's pretty fun, I would say. A little bit more linear than other Metroid games, but I'm hoping that Metroid Dread will be like you can tell it's kind of a 2.5D game. It's not like actually two-dimensional. Um, but I would say that uh, you know I hope it's going to be a fun game. It's going to come out for the Switch. Um, I don't know. I mean, we'll see if it'll be an enjoyable game. I hope that maybe it's somewhat structured to Fusion. So I don't know. We'll see if it's going to be fun. So let's move on. We're at the 18-minute mark. So let's move on to the final topic, which is music. So what music do you guys like? I mean, people like all different kinds of music, Um, like I enjoy various genres, like I like rock and, pop. I've tried to get into jazz, but it's been a little difficult for me to get into jazz because I don't know, it's like the structure of jazz music. Maybe it's like I don't want to say that it's necessarily like intimidating, but the thing about jazz music is that like, it involves a lot of wind instruments, and it's kind of hard for me to enjoy wind instruments for some reason, like saxophone or trumpet or whatever. Um, I don't know. It's just I would say that like with jazz, like it can be very beautiful and it can evoke like specifics, like kind of a specific mood. That's that can be quite enjoyable to experience. But I don't know. It's been difficult for me. Another genre of music that's a little difficult for me to enjoy is classical. And I don't really know why I can't enjoy classical. Maybe it's because it involves, wind instruments as well and other instruments that like I don't typically enjoy and listen to. But, classical music is very beautiful in general, though. I mean, it's something that like is typically calming for me if I listen to it. Like I don't know, it gives me a sense of peace that like even like I don't know, like lo-fi ambient electronic music doesn't really do it for me. Um, so And that's another genre of music that I enjoy heavily is electronic. Well, not heavily like in contrast to classical and jazz, but I enjoy electronic music heavily because I would say that, you know, I don't know, like electronic music is, it's highly varied, and I would say that it's just, it can really inspire a lot of deep emotions. And of course, it can be good for like, dancing and just generally lifting up the mood of whatever situation you find yourself in. Uh, that can be pretty fun to experience. Um, and of course, like as I mentioned before, I really like rock. Like there's all different kinds of music that's tied to the rock genre. Like one of my favorite rock bands is actually an indie band called Death Cab for Cutie, and I don't know if you heard of them, but Death Cab for Cutie came out with an album called Transatlanticism or Transatlanticism. I think that's how you say it. Um, I believe it came out in 2003, and that album is like, I don't know, it's like comforting for me because I would say it's a little depressing, but overall, uh, it just, I don't know how to explain it, but like it just helps me kind of like work through certain emotions within myself. Just helps me feel better about, maybe a depressing situation I happen to find myself in. And I think it's a really good winter album. It's great for winter, honestly. Another genre of music that I enjoy is hip hop, though I haven't really been listening to much hip hop lately. Um, like hip hop is something that I have enjoyed in the past, but uh, I don't know. I haven't really been in the mood for it lately. Really, since I've been, kind of taking these certain set of medications, I haven't really been able to enjoy music in general. I don't know why, but it's just been I don't know, it's just like it kind of numbs my brain a little bit, and so I don't really enjoy music as much in general. But with hip hop, it kind of faded out uh, quite a bit. So, but I do enjoy hip hop because like usually hip hop music has a good beat, and a lot of the times the artist will rap about topics that that express like pain, their pain and their struggles with drugs and violence, and that's something that I can not necessarily fully relate to, but I can relate to some degree, just struggling with painful experiences and stuff like that. Uh, finally, uh, we're going to have our wrap up. The wrap up is going to be basically just just I guess in this case just a little bit more rambling. So uh, yeah, so the thing is that like uh, I'm going to just be continuing to work on this podcast, and hopefully we'll see like where it goes. Um, the most important thing is that I just keep continuing on with it and not give up, because that's an important thing to do. Like I mean, if you want to continue something, then you have to consistently take action on it. So, uh, but yeah, so today we discussed general topics and video games and music. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Um, I would say that I am probably going to try to get this podcast on Spotify or maybe another platform. I gotta get an RSS feed set up. I don't necessarily have the cash for it right now, so this is pretty much going to just be strictly uploaded to YouTube for a minute. But yeah, I think everything's going to go well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. This is Cooltific, episode 2 of season 1. I'll see you later.